Well, it's been a while since Nintendo released bangers for the NES. While they have expanded the Switch Online to help even out the releases of their classic games, the NES has not gotten the love and respect it deserves. But that changed a little with this latest update. Two really big bangers from the NES. Both of them hard as hell, but in a good way, and really fun hit the Switch Online, the Ninja Gaiden 2 and Battletoads. Plus, we got some Game Boy games. One of them is Kid Icarus, which I absolutely think is a quality title for the Game Boy. And then Bionic Commando, a game I haven't really played through, and a series I just can't get myself into. But let's take a look at these games individually. Okay, one of the things I do have to complain about is Nintendo not putting good games on their service. Yes, there are a lot of top-tier third-party that are going to be going into collections that are sold on the eShop and not hit the online service. But you know something? Ninja Gaiden 2 should have been on this service at least half a decade ago. Oh well, better late than never. The Ninja Gaiden series was unique back in the day, when cutscenes weren't really done in most video games, and most of the times the ending was a simple paragraph. Ninja Gaiden dared to have a story, and Ninja Gaiden 2 continues that. Ryu Hayabusa just saved the world from a demon world Yago, I do believe, and had to slay his demon-possessed father in the process. Now a new demon lord, Astor, has kidnapped Irene and is antagonizing our young hero, and he's out to stop a portal to the demon realm from opening up. The story is good for the NES. I get these scenes are kind of basic and even funny compared to today's video game cutscenes, but you have to remember, most NES games had less space than most YouTube thumbnails take up. They managed to make the cutscenes look this good and still have an awesome game. Way to go, Tecmo. The gameplay is in a lot of ways like a Castlevania game if the Belmonts were ninjas instead of vampire killers, as there are a lot of similarities. Cut things open to grab different sub-weapons, ninja power to power set weapons, and like the Belmonts, Ryu's gotta stop to swing his sword, and there is a brief wind-up for his sword swipe. Also like the Belmont, Ryu's greatest enemy isn't the demons. No, it's knockback. In fact, Ryu can call the Belmonts amateur when it comes to being knocked back into pits. This game is hard, but difficulty-wise it's easier than its predecessors thanks to them tightening up a few things and dropping if you die at the final boss, you don't go several stages back BS that its predecessor had. Also, Ryu now has shadow clones that he can call upon, and if you set them up right, you can take down bosses really quick, even get a few of them a good case of Spark Mandrill syndrome. At the very end, this game is challenging, but it's fair and fun. But if you want a game that can give Ninja Gaiden the title of a wimp, then check out Battletoads. How hard is Battletoads? Well, I'm someone who has beaten the first two Ninja Gaiden games without any cheats or help. I've beaten 2 of the 3 Castlevania games on the NES without cheats and help. And with the rare replay on the Xbox, I set it for unlimited life, unlimited continues, invincibility, and even abused the rewind feature. And you know what? With all of those enabled, Battletoads still handed me my ass. This game is legendary hard for a reason. Oftentimes on both people's #1 hardest NES or just plain hardest games of all time, and for good reason. But you know what? It's still a lot of fun. There's a lot of good humor, the controls are tight. None of the challenges feel like you can't overcome them or they're super cheap. And with enough patience and practice, you'll get over each one of them and into the next. With that said, if you expect this game to give you any mercy when you screw up, think again. The game will ridicule you hard whenever you screw up and die and have to continue. Either the coach here will give you a bad time, or if it's a full game over, the Dark Queen will chime in on how much you suck. It's a fun game worth checking out, which is more than I can say for the remake that came out a few years. Plus, even this heavily censored NES game era Dark Queen has boobs. What happened, Microsoft? Anyways, let's check the 2 Game Boy games. One I do actually own the actual cart for, and the other is completely new to me until I played it for this video. Let's see if they're worth checking out. The Game Boy sequel to Kid Icarus. Palutena senses some evil and sends Pit through the dark world on a training mission fighting monsters. Could be worse for the little guy. You could have to spend time with your Captain In counterpart, and that would royally succotash. But seriously, I enjoy this game far more than the NES, mainly because its difficulty is far more balanced to handle the smaller screen. You can actually fall and not get automatic game overs, making the first area already better. All the other tropes from the original are here: stores, challenge rooms, reapers, and Metroid-esque dungeons at the end of each area. Oh, and did I mention this game actually saves? Yeah, that already makes it 100 times better than the NES one, despite being on a smaller screen. Definitely check this one out when it's on the Nintendo Online service. Now we get to Bionic Commando. I never got into the NES Bionic Commando despite trying several times, and even the Xbox Live remake didn't get me going. And when I say NES Live remake, don't be confused with that awful reboot where his wife is his arm. I haven't played that, but I hear it's laughably horrible. But my dislike or inability to get into it, I put on myself, unlike a few other NES games that people will tell you are great, and I find myself going, no, these games were barely passable shit in the 80s. Now they've aged and they're worse than dog shit. Original Final Fantasy, I'm looking at you. But playing through the Game Boy game for about 20 minutes, I could see myself playing this again if I didn't have anything else to play. I think it's better than the NES game when it comes to control and sprite design. That said, this is definitely a Game Boy game that was just merely ported over, and it's showing it's not meant for a large HD backlit screen, as there's a lot of blur when I move to where things are hard to make out until you stop moving. But it does a better job of telling the tale of Bionic Commando having to save his colleague Super Joe. You still have to swing instead of jump and figure out the areas using that swing mechanic. It's not a terrible game, it's just not one I find fun, but I think you should check it out to form your own opinions. Well, Nintendo, you cheeky bastards, you did it. You finally, for the first time in about 5 years, put something actually worth playing on the NES section of the Nintendo Classics. Battletoads and Ninja Gaiden 2 absolutely have to be checked out, and Kid Icarus Myths and Monsters is worth your time. I won't say Bionic Commando isn't worthy. I can understand people who will defend it saying that it is a great game. It's just not for me. Anyways, let me know what you think of the latest Nintendo Classic updates on the comments down below. Have a wonderful day.